Hey. So I figured that since I deleted the first video due to one inaccuracy, since it was only one inaccuracy and everything else was, to the best of my knowledge, completely true, I figured I would make another one explaining basically the things that I have experienced regarding my father. So even before, the divorce, he was not the best dad. He was not at the house a lot. And part of that was he was at his office doing some work. But I have no doubt that another part of that was he just didn't want to be around us. He was very controlling. There was one point when I was watching Scooby-Doo. I was probably first grade, second grade. I was a small child. That's, perfect age to be watching a cartoon like that. And he would act like a monster, from the show, and I would, considering everything, because even then, we didn't understand really the scale of things, but we still knew that he wasn't the most trustworthy. So I would rightfully be a little freaked out, and he used that as an excuse to ban me from ever watching Scooby-Doo again, because it was too scary, which he just wanted to feel control, I guess. He wanted power over something. He also banned me from playing Minecraft because it was satanic. That didn't stop me, though. To this day, Minecraft, my favorite game of all time. Yeah. He He also, a lot of the time, he would take us all out on a lake in his speedboat. And, it was fine the first few times, but it started happening just like at least once a week for I don't even know how long. And it got to the point where I have a fight or flight reaction to boats. So there's that. And before the divorce, he took $10,000 from me, $10,000 from my older sister, and $10,000 from my younger sister. And he used that to help pay for his house here in Ohio. He called it an investment. I don't think it was. I do not believe him that it was an investment. He hasn't sold the house yet. It's been I think just about over a decade now since he bought it. I contacted him through a throwaway email account that I connected to a Venmo to attempt to get the $10,000 back from him. I don't even care about any growth that may or may not have happened. I just want my money back. He made a whole show of dancing around the subject and refusing to give it back to me because of my mental state, which I'm not suicidal anymore. I was. You know how you can only bend something so far until it snaps? He was the bending, and just the stress of school and stuff was the snapping. I had to drop out of my senior year because I was at risk for a little while. I no longer am. I'm doing much better. still not perfect. I never will be, but definitely way better than I was. Anyway, after the divorce, we had visitation for roughly a year, I want to say. We had some of our stuff at his house, and we'd go over there and we'd do things with our stuff that we took there. And he'd also like have his girlfriends and their kids at the house too. And when they were around, he'd be, a good dad. And when they weren't, he'd be normal. Like, there was a time when, like, he was not good at cooking, and when he would make something, he would make us eat everything, like even like the little crumbs. And at one point, he made me eat like literally everything. I ended up vomiting because it was so bad. And then, at a later date, he made some stuff, and I thought, I don't want to eat this. I'm gonna get sick again. So I put it in my mouth, excused myself, went to the bathroom, flushed it down the toilet. And when I came out, he figured out that I did that, and he told me, almost word for word, if you didn't want to eat it, you could have just said something. And, I call bullcrap. Because he'd established at that point, we had to eat everything. So, gaslighting. Yeah, there was a lot of times, at the very least, similar to things like that. At one point, he left me and my little sister, because he had forbade my older sister at that point from visiting him, because he was talking bad about Mom as he was driving, as he picked us up for visitation, started driving away. He was talking bad about Mom, and my older sister told him to shut up, don't say stuff like that about her, and he kicked her out of the car, and he banned her from visiting him from that point. So yeah, this one time, when it was just me and my little sister, I remember I was 13, so she would have been 10, or around that age. he had just gotten a new job, and he left us at his house to just do whatever. His rules were we were not allowed to go downstairs. We could stay in our room, and we could go to the bathroom. And it's not as bad as it sounds. It is still bad, but there was a big TV in our room. There were plenty of like couches. It was more of a living room than a bedroom. It just had 2 beds, one for me and one for her. But anyway, yeah, we were allowed to be in our room, and we were allowed to be in the bathroom, and that's it. We weren't allowed to go downstairs to the kitchen. We weren't allowed to go anywhere else, just those 2 places. And I had like a little cell phone that I could use to talk to Mom. I didn't have like a personal like smartphone at that point. I just had like a flip phone that technically belonged to my older sister, but she let me take it during visitation so that I could talk to them. But yeah, I let Mom know what was going on, as you do. And she thought those 2 kids are being left alone all day in a house. What if something were to happen? Nobody would be there. And, I feel like that's a valid concern. So she called like the police station and let them know, hey, these 2 kids, like my 2 kids, are left completely alone in their dad's house all day. And they came with her to try to check on us, but like we weren't allowed to go downstairs. He specifically said, like, even if it's the police, don't go downstairs. Don't answer the door or anything. And we were scared of him, so we did what he said. And that eventually escalated to him at first taking us with him to work, but then like dropping us off at I think a YMCA. And I remember the first time he did drop us off at the YMCA, he told us that if we ever told anybody stuff like that again, they would take us away from both him and Mom, and we wouldn't be able to see either of them ever again, which, now I know absolutely not true. We would have been taken until Mom could pick us up, and then we'd go with Mom. But, we didn't know that at the time. We were just scared. And so, after all of that, there was, a bunch of court hearings. He was deemed unfit to be our parent. Mom got full custody, and he started to fight for visitation until we were pretty much old enough to say, no, we're not going. Which, legally that's 18, but realistically you're not going to be able to tell like a 14, 15-year-old do this. You're not going to be able to like physically force them to. So like he kept fighting until we were all old enough to say no, and we got a restraining order. He would periodically show up anyways. Once to drop off a huge box of games and consoles that I guess he got at a storage auction. I don't know. He does that a lot. Like even before the whole YouTube thing, he did storage auctions quite a bit. And another time to like talk to my older sister, and we were home on that second time, and I saw his face through the window, and I immediately started having a panic attack, and I ran into my room and hid in my toy chest. And I started like frantically calling Mom, like, Dad's at the house, Dad's at the house. And it's just like, I was terrified. Anyway, that is basically most of the story, at least what I can remember off the top of my head. There are other things that I neglected to mention, like I'm remembering right now that there was a time when we took a vacation to the beach, like with Mom, and he had said he was gonna come and he was gonna get us from like the vacation that we had. And I remember coincidentally there was somebody with like the same color truck as him who like drove outside like the beach house that we were staying at, and I got so scared, thought that it was him. And it was just, it wasn't fun. The vacation was fun. But thinking that he was there to take us away, that was not fun. And like there's definitely other things. But yeah, all of that's what I've got off the top of my head. So yeah, that's my story. I know that no matter what I say, there's going to be people who are going to be on his side no matter what. I've accepted that. There are going to be people who call me a liar. There are people who are going to say I'm just doing this for attention. Regardless of what they say, that isn't true. I'm doing this because I'm fed up with his garbage, and I want the truth to be known. I want people to know how much of a trash person he really is. So yeah, that's gonna be it.